So after much puzzling, started my game of High Frontier and went through the first turn. And each player performed a research operation. Starting with the NASA player, he picked up a Robonaut with a ray gun. A lot of mass to that thing. Basically, everybody bid one on it. Nobody was willing to go higher. Worst comes to worst, he can always sell it if he's got something better on the horizon. Likewise, the ESA went with a Robonaut. Somewhat lighter, comes with a better rocket than he's got on board, and a good ISU value of 2. They both have that. So in both cases, that seemed like a useful addition. And then the Chinese, who were considering, because of the suggestions in the rule book, just making a run and getting a claim, that didn't make a lot of sense without some sort of refinery so they can build a factory. So they grabbed one. I don't know if they're going to keep it. Again, I believe they got that at 1. I think, yeah, this second Robonaut actually went for 2. And finally, the UN picked up a thruster with what looked like fairly good ratings to me. Hard to tell. It's my first play. And they only paid 1 for that. Nobody was really too interested in it. Okay. And I keep going. I really, again, this is a first playing, and I really don't know how idiotic I'm going to be. I have this feeling I'm going to be stranding spaceships left and right. So after having made it around the board again, I'm beginning to see that getting the stuff off and into the low Earth orbit is going to be just about impossible. So I'm looking at NASA in particular here, who has a mass of 5, 6, 7, 8, if they want to send everything up. And I'm not absolutely certain whether or not they need a crew with a rocket. That's not clear to me yet. I can look that up. I think they can send one without. So I'm beginning to look at, gee, this is what they need. And they may just sell this card on the open market for $3 in order to be able to actually launch the rocket somewhere. Maybe better to get a claim somewhere early and then build up and try to exploit it rather than... and everybody's facing this, basically. Everybody's got way too much mass to lift off. The cheapest is over here with the ESA. They only have 6. Make it 7 with the crew if they take them. No guts, no glory. 2 people launched. NASA is going up with a manned crew. This thruster. I don't know where yet, which I think is totally the wrong way to play this. I guess I'm too used to land 4000 or 4000 AD, depending on how you want to look at it. Let's see where we get. But I really do need to test out the system a little bit. And then using a solar sail, the United Nations managed a cheap launch, only 1 water for theirs. The other 2 are looking at trying to get something bigger. We got this big mass 0 thruster, which looks like it might be of some value. And then the Chinese are trying to come up with money by cycling through the technology. The NASA ship is on its way to Mars, hoping to land and get a claim there. Can't do much once it gets there, but I'm seeing what I can do. Everybody else is still buying and selling to try to get enough up to go there. I made a mistake with the United Nations. They boosted their rocket. Unfortunately, it's a solar ship, so it's not going to, with its one thrust, it's not going to be able to land anywhere and get off of anywhere, and they don't have points on their crew. So they're trying to get enough water together so that they can make a landing and come back up. Back around with more excitement, and NASA realized, oh geez, Mars, that's no fun, I can't land there. They didn't have enough fuel to land and take off, and they don't have a big enough thruster. Nobody does, really. So they're aiming for Ceres now. That's going to be kind of expensive to get to too, but we'll see. So a couple more passes on the map. The NASA player is sitting on Ceres, and he hasn't prospected yet. He grabbed some water. He can barely prospect it. I thought I screwed up and couldn't get to less than or equal to. Hey, bonus for the IRSU. But that's the kind of screw up that I'm sure I'm going to make regularly, is not keeping track of all the things that need to be kept track of. Over here for the ESA, they've got quite a pile of water collecting up to try to make one big jump, maybe something that they can use their refinery with. Chinese took off, and it looks like they're heading for Ceres, which means if NASA gets a claim there, the Chinese can just take it. A lot of good that does. And I don't know what the UN's up to. Well, I do. They're following, I believe, the purple line to go try and find something with a little bit of water. They're using a solar sail, so it's going to be a slow trip, but they just want to get somewhere where they can do something. And the rules are kind of problematic for this game, there's no question. So for example, the whole situation with the Glory Arena, the way I read it, it seems so weird. It's like you get 3 victory points for going anywhere and 3 more for going to specifics like Mercury, Mars, or a science site. But they're not really victory points. They're because they expend a block, and you might need the block for something else. But the problem is, the way it's worded is, it sounds like you get 3 for one of these, and you get to put a block down here in any space if you want it. And it's not really clear what that means, but it looks like it's 3. But I don't really see much advantage to doing any of that. I mean, you're going to get those points if you do anything, and you probably are going to need a certain number of blocks on the board to be in the running anyway. So I don't know what those are going to do, and the rules kind of... That's something I expected from Eklund, though. Sierra Madre always has had questionable rules. Unfortunately, this is a really tough game to understand everything that's going on and what the goals are, and the rules aren't helping. With something like Lords of the Sierra Madre, hey, yeah, I looked at the rules and it looks like I'm supposed to have the most money in my bank, even though there's like other victory conditions. But in this, the victory conditions are pretty clear, but other aspects of the rules, it's not clear what what you're winning from. Yeah, well. Another time around, the Chinese have landed with NASA, and both sides are realizing, wow, the water that I can collect here on Ceres because of my bad ISU is no better than the 1 per turn I can get for free. I'm not sure whether NASA is going to leave their crew there and try to defend their claim or not. So far, probably the person who's doing the best is the guy who hasn't left for space yet, just because it's safest. He's sitting in low Earth orbit. So the Chinese are in the same boat, except they might be able to steal the claim. The Europeans realized, oh wow, my sail doesn't work in the direction I'm going. So they stopped at a homing point, and they're going to try to find somewhere else to go. Because once they get out into the Mars orbit, they lose all thrust and they just die out there. There is something kind of funny about it. What it reminds me most of at this point is Death in the Woods. I mean, Outdoor Survival by Avalon Hill. But I think once you get past the stage of not knowing what you can and can't do, or if you really planned ahead of time, but that's no fun, you can really get a feel for the game. We'll see. But this is kind of an amusing experiment. Another time around, and NASA's left Ceres, and the Chinese grabbed it. Still building up over here, trying to get enough fuel to actually drop that refinery somewhere for the ESA. And the UN, with its sail, managed to coast all the way, from about here across to here. The only thing of value that they can actually explore is this comet. So they're going to go for that. Yet another miscalculation by NASA. Spaceship's gone. They dropped an escape pod out for the crew, decommissioned the ship, putting it into their pile, and they're going to use the freighter rules to try to get home. That means no glory for them when they make it back. Chinese trying to avoid that by grabbing more and more water. I don't like calculating. I'll never be a rocket scientist. Meanwhile, the UN is slowly making its way in with the sail.